before I give the mic to Jack, I was looking through the program, and Jack's wife Kathy had a quote in here that captured, I think, the essence of what Chris was trying to say. And you'll find it at the bottom of page 47, but it says, "The teachers at the EEU inspire us. They help us parents see that those rocks, which may sometimes be boulders in the road ahead, are not roadblocks but stepping stones." So let's give our attention to Jack, who is a fantastic dad, who's going to come in here and share a very private speech. So let's give our attention and support to Jack. Jack, thank you.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Tammy and Chris for allowing me to be up here. And I'd also like to thank the other EEU parents who inspired me tonight by saying, "I'm so glad it's you, not me." But I am honored to be up here. My wife Kathy and I have two daughters, Grace, who is 6, and Lily. Our sweet Lily was born 5 years ago. She was little, but of course we thought she was perfect. We showed her off to family and friends, and we went to bed that night fully expecting that we would be going home the next day. But Lily stopped breathing during the night. But for a watchful nurse, she wouldn't be with us today. They rushed her to the ICU, and they got her breathing again. And a couple hours later, she stopped breathing. We spent the next week in the ICU. We lost count of how many times she stopped breathing. And despite their best efforts, the doctors couldn't tell us what was wrong. And after a few days without an incident, the doctor said it was safe to take her home. So we took her home. We were scared and still wondering what was wrong. Weeks later, we found out that Lily had a condition called 9p-. It's an exceedingly rare chromosomal disorder. What little information we could find was pretty grim. Few doctors knew what it was, and none could tell us what it meant. We asked the doctors all the questions we could think of. We asked, "Will she walk?" The doctor said, "We don't know." We asked, "Will she talk?" Again, they told us, "We don't know." And some questions were unasked. I wondered, will she know her mother? Will she know who I am? It is indescribably daunting when your hopes and dreams so quickly turn to fear and pain. My wife and I held each other and cried. And not long after the diagnosis, I sat alone, overwhelmed and afraid. I began thinking about a prayer for Lily. I thought about all the things that now seem no longer possible. I thought about all the things that she would not be able to do. And at the end of it, I thought I would pray for just one thing. And I prayed that Lily might experience joy. I thought that if she could know joy, if we could laugh together someday, then she would be okay. That I would be okay. And that our family would be okay. So began life with Lily. We were lucky to get her into Boyer Children's Clinic. It's an amazing birth at 3 Center, not far from here. Our days were filled with speech therapy, physical therapy, sacrocraniotherapy, even therapeutic horseback riding. And eventually the time came for Lily to go to a developmental preschool. We were still afraid and very concerned for our little girl. We wondered what the transition might hold. But after our first visit to the EEU, our fears turned to hope and excitement. We saw the support provided by the teachers in the classroom. We saw the inclusion program that would allow Lily to learn alongside typically developing peers. We learned of ongoing studies being done to continually assess the best ways to reach the kids, to bring out the best in them, and to help them learn. We sat in the observation room attached to the classroom and we peered through the looking glass of a perfect world for Lily. We saw teachers filled with joy and passion for their work. We saw rooms filled with graduate students and therapists and volunteers, all providing and caring for the children in such a loving way. And in every observation room, we saw happy parents marveling at the care being given to their children. We cried when we received the letter in the mail letting us know that Lily had been placed here. We cried because we knew that she would receive the best possible care and support, and we knew that she would be safe. We knew that she would be accepted, understood, and loved. And what we didn't know and what we didn't expect is that the same would apply to us as parents. Being a part of the EEU as a parent means that you are cared for and supported, understood, and accepted. As parents of a special needs kid, we all have to go through a transition from mourning the loss of the child that they should be to celebrating the child that they are. And this transition is made so much easier here at the EEU because EEU is a celebration of life. Every day the teachers celebrate the lives of our children, and they celebrate their accomplishments, whether they be big and small. And we can't help but be inspired to do the same. I'll give you an example of what it's like to celebrate life with a special needs kid. It wasn't that long ago that Lily said "Daddy" for the first time. She was in speech therapy, and the therapist had been using pictures of me to try to prompt Lily. It had been 4 years, so you can imagine how many times I had tried to get her to say it. But when she did say it, I cried. The therapist cried. Everybody in the observation room cried. And when the session was over, I rushed in, and she lifted up her arms to me, and she said, "Daddy." And I scooped her up, and I ran outside to the car. I couldn't wait to call my wife and tell her what happened. I was so excited. And as we approached the car, there was a man coming our way, and as he got close, Lily looked at him. Lifted up her arms and said, "Daddy." But the point is, and what was important, is that I was undaunted. Because to me, what was important was that the day before that, Lily couldn't say "Daddy." So that day she could. So today, with help from the EEU, "Daddy" only applies to me. Lily can walk, and she can run, and she can talk. And that little girl doesn't just know joy, but she seems to spread it wherever she goes. And for that, we are grateful. And for that, we celebrate her joy every day. Thank you.
I hate laughing and crying. That's a great story. Jack, again, I said it privately, but publicly, thank you so much for sharing that wonderful story. And Kathy, too, thank you, and sharing that story about Lily. You know, I usually cry once a year, and it's usually this night. And, yeah, thank you. Before we take another step, it's really an overwhelming night. I mean, we recognize, Gary, Maury, Stovey. We've got, Norris and Dorothy Herring here, Owen White, Eileen Schwartz. We've got Cecile Lindquist, who is really the matriarch. I mean, there is so much collective talent and just energy that for the last 30 years has taken this school. When 30 years ago they were saying that kids with Down syndrome couldn't learn and kids with any kind of disability couldn't learn. We're a school where we bring typical kids and kids with any kind of disability, and through just sheer hope, energy, and passion, we make it work. And Jack, again, thank you for sharing that story. But it never ceases to amaze me how amazing the school is. And just like Kathy says, some people might see it as a boulder, but it really is a stepping stone. And again, I mean, Yard of Nod and American Seafoods and Precept, all of these sponsors, and year after year, they give so much because I think everyone understands the mission.